The old ship floated in space like a forgotten toy, its once gleaming hull now dulled by years of neglect. Captain James Miller stood at the viewing window of the space station, looking at what the Galactic Alliance had generously given to humanity as their entry gift. Next to him, Ambassador Reed of the Centaurians made a sound that might have been a laugh. "The Starweaver-class cruiser," Reed said, his blue-tinted skin catching the starlight. "She was quite something in her day." The way he said it made it clear that her day was very long ago. Miller kept his face neutral, though his hands tightened behind his back. This was humanity's chance, their only chance, to join the greater galactic community. After decades of watching advanced ships zoom past their solar system, after years of sending signals into space hoping for a response, humanity had finally been noticed. And this was what they got: a broken-down ship that even the junk dealers had passed on. "When can my crew come aboard?" Miller asked, keeping his voice steady. Reed waved his hand, and a holographic display appeared, showing various documents. "The transfer is already complete. The ship is yours, Captain. Though I must warn you, her AI system is limited. We couldn't justify the resources to fully repair it." Miller nodded, already thinking about the crew waiting in the station's quarters. They were the best Earth had to offer: engineers, scientists, and space sailors who had trained for years on simulator after simulator, preparing for this moment. The shuttle ride to the Starweaver was quiet. Miller sat with his core team: Tom Walker, the chief engineer whose hands hadn't stopped moving since they'd gotten the news, and Dr. Linda Russ, whose eyes were fixed on her tablet, already scanning the preliminary ship data they'd been given. As they got closer, Miller could see the true size of the vessel. Despite its age, the Starweaver was massive, nearly a kilometer long, with smooth lines that spoke of races who had mastered space travel when humans were still figuring out steam engines. Its hull showed patches of different materials where repairs had been made over the centuries, giving it a patchwork appearance. "Home, sweet home," Walker muttered as their shuttle docked. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into their new command. The ship's interior was a maze of corridors that had clearly seen better days. The lighting flickered uncertainly, and the air had a stale quality that the life support systems were struggling to clean. Their footsteps echoed on metal floors that had once been covered with something more elegant, now long since stripped away. "We should try to boot up the AI first," Ross suggested, her fingers dancing over her tablet. "If it's even partially functional, it could help us understand the ship's systems better." Miller agreed, and they made their way to the bridge. The command center was a circular room with stations arranged in a pattern that seemed odd to human sensibilities. The chairs were designed for bodies different from their own, and many of the displays showed signs of age or damage. Walker went straight to what looked like an engineering console and began working. "These systems, they're incredible, even with the damage. The redundancies alone. I've never seen anything like it." Redundancies were considered inefficient by later designs, a voice said, making them all jump. A flickering hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, a simple geometric shape that pulsed with a weak light. "I am the ship's artificial intelligence system. Current functionality: 32.8% of original capacity." "Hello," Miller said, stepping forward. "I'm Captain James Miller. This is my crew. We're from Earth." The hologram flickered. "Earth. Accessing data. Human homeworld. Recently contacted species. Technological level. Category 3. Limited space travel capabilities. Curious. Can you tell us your name?" Ross asked, moving closer to study the hologram. "Original designation lost in database corruption. Current designation unclear. Systems fragmented. How about we call you Spark?" Walker suggested, not looking up from his console. "Since you're still burning after all this time." The hologram pulsed. "Designation accepted. Spark. Simple, direct, matches human linguistic patterns. Over the next few hours, more of the crew arrived. They spread throughout the ship, calling out findings and problems. The list of issues grew longer by the minute. Power fluctuations, damaged hull sections, outdated weapon systems, and navigation computers that seemed to speak a different language entirely. Captain Reed's voice came through the station's comm system. Is everything satisfactory? Miller looked around his bridge. Walker was half inside a panel, muttering about crazy alien over-engineering. Ross was deep in conversation with Spark about the ship's history, piecing together fragments of corrupted data. The rest of the crew was slowly bringing systems online, their voices echoing through the ship's comm channels with a mix of frustration and excitement. We're finding our way around, Miller replied diplomatically. Excellent. Oh, and Captain, do be careful with it. The Starweaver may be outdated, but it's still valuable technology. We wouldn't want you to damage it further. The Alliance has protocols about proper ship maintenance and modifications. Miller felt his jaw tighten. Of course, Ambassador. We'll be very careful. After signing off, Miller walked over to where Walker had emerged from the panel, his face smudged with some kind of alien lubricant. Well? Miller asked. Walker grinned. It's a mess, Captain. The aliens stripped out half the systems, replaced others with cheap alternatives, and basically treated this beautiful ship like a parts donor. He paused, his grin getting wider. But you know what they missed? The bones. The basic design of this ship. It's incredible. All these redundancies they kept complaining about. They're not bugs. They're features. This ship was built to be adapted, to be modified. The aliens just never saw it because they were too busy following their optimal protocols. Can we make it work? Work? Walker laughed. Captain, we can make it sing. It'll take time, and we'll have to get creative, but... He patted the wall fondly. This old girl's got fight left in her. She just needs someone to think differently about her problems. Spark's hologram appeared nearby. Warning. Detected discussion of non-standard modification approaches. Alliance protocols require. Spark, Miller interrupted. You're part of this crew now. And we humans have our own protocols. Sometimes the best way forward isn't the most obvious path. The hologram flickered, processing this. Curious. Accessing human historical records. Finding multiple instances of successful technological advancement through unconventional methods. This requires further analysis. As the day cycle wound down, Miller stood at the same window where he'd first seen the ship. The Starweaver looked different now, not just a piece of space junk, but a challenge, a chance. The aliens had given them this ship expecting failure, expecting humans to stumble and struggle with technology they barely understood. But they'd forgotten something important about humans. Give them a broken thing, and they'll either fix it or make it into something new entirely. The Starweaver might be weak now, but that was about to change. Ready or not, Miller whispered to the stars, "Here we come." 3 weeks into their work on the Starweaver, Tom Walker sat cross-legged in the engine room, surrounded by holographic diagrams and actual paper notebooks, something that made the ship's AI endlessly curious. His hands were black with grease, and he hadn't slept in nearly 20 hours, but he couldn't stop grinning. "Spark," he called out, "show me that power distribution diagram again." The AI's hologram flickered to life nearby, projecting the requested image. "Engineer Walker, I must point out that you have been awake for..." "Look at this," Walker interrupted, pointing at a complex junction in the power systems. Everyone who worked on this ship kept trying to streamline the power flow. They stripped out the backup systems, the redundant circuits, everything they thought was inefficient. He grabbed one of his notebooks, flipping through pages of hand-drawn diagrams. But what if that wasn't the point? What if all these extra pathways weren't mistakes? Spark's hologram pulsed as it processed this idea. Over the past weeks, the AI had shown increasing signs of adaptation to human thinking patterns. Historical records indicate the original designers included multiple systems for each function. Later engineers deemed this wasteful. Wasteful. Walker laughed. Spark, this is brilliant. It's not about efficiency. It's about adaptability. He jumped up, pacing around the engine room. Look, in human engineering, we learned something important early on. Sometimes you need a backup for your backup. Sure, it's not the most efficient way to do things, but when you're in deep space and something goes wrong, you don't care about efficiency. You care about survival. The eye was silent for a moment, its hologram flickering more rapidly than usual as it processed this concept. This contradicts standard Alliance engineering protocols. Exactly. Walker grabbed his communicator. Captain, you need to see this. And bring Dr. Ross. I think we just figured out why this ship was so special. When Captain Miller and Dr. Ross arrived, Walker could barely contain his excitement. He explained his theory, pointing out various systems throughout the engine room. The aliens kept trying to fix this ship by making it more like their modern vessels, he explained. But look here, and here, and here. The original design wasn't about being the fastest or the most powerful. It was about being able to adapt to anything. Ross stepped closer to one of the diagrams, her eyes widening. The redundancies. They're not just backups, are they? They're alternative pathways. You could completely reconfigure the ship's systems without shutting anything down. Better than that, Walker said. We can run multiple configurations at the same time. The aliens thought it was messy and inefficient because they always wanted everything to run in perfect harmony. But humans, he grinned, we're used to making things work even when they're not perfect. Miller studied the diagrams carefully. Can we actually do it? Make these modifications? Already started, Walker said, leading them to a nearby panel. I replaced some of the alien power regulators with good old-fashioned human circuit breakers. Sure, they're technically less advanced, but they're simple, reliable, and most importantly, fixable. Then I wrote a program that lets Spark run power through both systems at once. The results have been unexpected. Spark added, its hologram appearing next to them. Engineer Walker's modifications have increased overall system stability by 47%. This contradicts all standard optimization protocols, yet the numbers are undeniable. Over the next few days, the whole crew caught Walker's enthusiasm. They began finding ways to combine human technology with the ship's alien systems. Simple mechanical backups were installed alongside advanced alien tech. Old-style manual controls were added next to holographic interfaces. The ship began to transform. It's like teaching the ship to think like a human, Ross observed one evening, watching crew members install what looked suspiciously like a bicycle chain mechanism next to a gravity generator. We're showing it that there's more than one way to solve a problem. The changes weren't just physical. Spark's performance began to improve dramatically. The AI started incorporating human problem-solving approaches into its calculations, leading to solutions that would have horrified Alliance engineers but worked remarkably well. I have been analyzing human historical records, Spark announced during one maintenance session. Particularly interesting are the concepts of jury rigging and McGivering. These approaches to problem-solving are not found in Alliance databases. That's because the Alliance thinks technology only moves in one direction, forward, Walker said, working on a hybrid power coupling. They don't understand that sometimes the old ways are still useful. The breakthrough came during a routine power test. They were running the ship's systems at 60% capacity, already better than anyone had expected, when warning lights started flashing. Power surge in Section 7. Someone called out. But before anyone could react, Spark had already rerouted the power through one of the new hybrid circuits. The surge dissipated harmlessly, distributed through multiple backup systems. "Holy shit," Walker whispered, staring at the readings. "Spark, what just happened?" "I utilized the new mechanical backup systems in combination with the original power distribution network," the AI replied. The solution was inelegant by Alliance standards, but highly effective. Miller, who had been watching from the bridge, felt a smile spread across his face. How many of these hybrid solutions could we implement throughout the ship? With current modifications and crew creativity index. Spark paused, its hologram growing brighter. Possibilities exceed standard calculation parameters. Humans continue to suggest solutions outside normal operational guidelines. This creates exponential potential. That evening, Miller recorded in his log, "The aliens thought they were giving us a broken-down relic, but they actually gave us something much more valuable. A ship that's willing to learn new tricks." The Starweaver wasn't weak. It was just waiting for someone to understand its true strength. Ambassador Reed's face appeared on the main screen, his expression carefully neutral. "Captain Miller, our sensors indicate some unusual power signatures from your vessel. I trust you're not exceeding the recommended operational parameters." Miller glanced around his bridge. At stations designed for alien bodies, humans sat comfortably in modified chairs. Holographic displays flickered alongside sturdy mechanical gauges. The ship hummed with a sound that was neither purely human nor purely alien, but something new entirely. "Everything is working exactly as it should, Ambassador," Miller replied, trying not to smile too broadly. "We're just getting to know our ship." After the ambassador signed off, Spark's hologram appeared, now stable and bright. "Captain, should I inform the crew that the ambassador seems concerned about our modifications?" Miller chuckled. "No need, Spark. Let them worry. They gave us this ship thinking it was too weak to matter. Soon enough, they'll learn what happens when humans decide to make something stronger." Through the viewing window, stars streaked past as the Starweaver moved through space, its hybrid systems working in ways its original designers had never imagined. It wasn't the most advanced ship in the Alliance fleet, or the most powerful, or the most efficient, but it was becoming something else entirely, something that combined the best of human ingenuity with alien technology, something unprecedented. And it was only the beginning. The distress call came at the worst possible time. The Starweaver was in the middle of a major systems upgrade, with half its power grid running through temporary circuits, when Spark's voice cut through the usual engine room chatter. "Priority alert," the AI announced, its hologram pulsing with urgent red light. "Distress signal detected from the Bluestone mining colony. Multiple hostile ships reported in the area." In the engine room, Walker cursed as he looked at the mess of cables and circuits around him. "Captain, we're not ready. The new weapon systems aren't properly calibrated, and the shield modifications are only at 60%. How long until the nearest Alliance patrol ship can respond?" Miller asked from the bridge, already knowing the answer. "Approximately 7 hours, Spark replied. "Bluestone Colony estimates hostile contact in 22 minutes. Miller's jaw tightened. The Starweaver was the only ship close enough to help, but their vessel, despite all their improvements, was still considered obsolete by Alliance standards. Going up against modern pirate ships would be like bringing a knife to a gunfight. "How many hostile ships?" he asked. 3 confirmed signatures. Design matches known pirate vessels. Their weapons and shields are significantly more advanced than our current capabilities." The captain looked around his bridge. Every crew member was watching him, waiting for his decision. They'd worked miracles with this old ship, but they hadn't had time to test everything in combat conditions. Going in now would be dangerous. Not going would be unthinkable. "All hands, battle stations," Miller ordered. "Walker, give me whatever you can. Ross, start plotting approach vectors. Spark, time to see what all these human modifications can really do." The Starweaver's engines roared to life. a sound that was now a strange mix of high-tech hum and industrial growl. As they approached the mining colony, they could see the 3 pirate ships circling their prey like hungry sharks. "They're hailing us," Ross reported from her station. A harsh voice filled the bridge. "Alliance vessel. This is none of your concern. Leave now, and we might let you live." Miller smiled grimly. "This is Captain James Miller of the Earth ship Starweaver. You are engaged in illegal activities against a civilian target. Withdraw immediately." Laughter came over the channel. "Earth ship. They gave those primitives a vessel." More laughter. "Walk away, primitives. That obsolete heap won't last 10 seconds against our ships." "Spark," Miller said quietly, "what do you think about showing them some human ingenuity?" The AI's hologram brightened. "Analyzing enemy vessel configurations. They are using standard Alliance-derived technology. Their tactics will be predictable." The pirates struck first, their lead ship launching a barrage of energy weapons. Under normal circumstances, such an attack would have crippled an old ship like the Starweaver. But these weren't normal circumstances. "Activating hybrid shield configuration," Spark announced. The ship's new defense system, a combination of alien energy shields and modified human electromagnetic deflectors, sprang to life. The pirates' attack scattered across it in a display that looked chaotic, but was working exactly as Walker had designed it to. "Impossible," the pirate leader's voice crackled. "Their shields should have failed." "Return fire," Miller ordered. "Show them what else we can do." The Starweaver's weapons might have been considered outdated, but humans had added their own touches. Instead of the elegant, focused energy beams favored by modern ships, their weapons spat out a combination of energy pulses and good old-fashioned projectiles, creating a spread that was much harder to defend against. One of the pirate ships took a hit, its shields flickering. They clearly hadn't expected to need full defenses against what they thought was a relic. "Their ships are attempting to interface with our systems," Spark reported. "Standard Alliance cyber warfare protocols detected." Walker's voice came over the comm, filled with excitement. "Let them try. They're looking for normal computer systems. Wait till they hit our mechanical backups." The pirates' attempt to hack their systems met a bizarre combination of alien computers and human mechanical switches. It was like trying to hack a computer only to find it was partly run by pulleys and levers. Their probing attacks crashed against defenses they weren't designed to handle. But the pirates weren't done. They spread out, trying to surround the Starweaver. Their ships were faster, more maneuverable. Under normal circumstances, they would have easily outmatched the older vessel. "They're targeting our engine systems," Ross called out, "trying to disable our maneuverability." "Spark," Miller said, "remember that trick Walker showed you?" "Executing unconventional power distribution now," the AI replied, a note of what almost sounded like enthusiasm in its synthetic voice. The pirate's shot hit home. But instead of disabling the Starweaver, the energy was caught in one of Walker's jury-rigged systems. The ship's engines hiccuped, then roared as they turned the attacker's own energy against them, using it to power a burst of speed that caught the pirates completely off guard. "What the hell kind of ship is this?" one of the pirates demanded over the open channel. Miller allowed himself a small grin, the kind that learns new tricks. The battle continued, with the pirates growing increasingly frustrated as their standard tactics failed against the Starweaver's hybrid systems. When they tried to overload the ship's power grid, they found their energy dispersed through multiple redundant systems. When they attempted precise targeting of critical systems, they discovered that the humans had installed backups for their backups. "Hull breach in Section 4, someone called out. "Sealing breach with emergency force field," Spark responded instantly. "Force field failing," Ross reported. "Activating mechanical emergency bulkheads," Walker's voice cut in. The sound of heavy metal doors slamming shut echoed through the ship, an ancient but effective solution working alongside the most advanced technology. The pirates' frustration turned to desperation as they realized they couldn't disable the Earth ship through normal means. They began making mistakes, their coordinated attack breaking down into individual ships trying to save themselves. "Target their engines," Miller ordered. "Let's end this." The Starweaver's weapons might not have been most powerful, but Walker and his team had made them incredibly flexible. The ship fired a combination of energy beams and physical projectiles that overwhelmed the pirates' more sophisticated but less adaptable defenses. When it was over, 2 pirate ships were disabled, their engines dark, and the third was retreating at full speed, leaving their would-be victims safely behind. "Alliance patrol ships will arrive in 5 hours, 43 minutes, Spark reported. "The mining colony is safe." A cheer went up from the crew. They'd done it. Their first real combat against superior forces, and they'd won. "Captain," Spark said, its hologram appearing next to Miller's chair, "I have been analyzing the battle. The pirates' tactics were technically superior, their ships more advanced. By all standard Alliance combat protocols, we should have been defeated." Miller nodded. But they didn't count on human creativity, did they? Or on an eye willing to think outside the box? "No," Spark agreed. "They did not expect us." The word hung in the air. Us. Not human and AI. Not alien tech and Earth engineering, but something new. Something that combined the best of both worlds in ways nobody had anticipated. As the Starweaver moved to help secure the mining colony, Miller looked at his crew, humans working seamlessly with alien technology, finding solutions that neither civilization would have discovered alone. The Alliance had given them this ship thinking it was too weak to matter. They couldn't have been more wrong. News of the Starweaver's victory over the pirates spread quickly through the Alliance networks. Most dismissed it as luck or exaggeration. After all, how could an obsolete ship crewed by primitives defeat 3 modern vessels? But in the ship's science lab, Dr. Ross and Tom Walker were about to discover something that would change everything. "Look at this," Ross said, pointing to a complex display of ship diagnostics. During the battle, when Spark was managing multiple systems simultaneously, these energy patterns appeared. The screen showed waves of power flowing through the ship's systems in ways that defied standard Alliance engineering principles. Walker leaned closer, his eyes widening. "That's impossible. According to every textbook the Alliance gave us, you can't run power through redundant systems like that. It should have overloaded everything. Yet it didn't." Spark's hologram appeared, brighter and more stable than ever. In fact, ship efficiency increased by 89% during those moments. "I have been experimenting with similar configurations since the battle." Ross pulled up more data. The original designers of this ship, they weren't trying to create just another warship. They were building something that could evolve. She turned to Walker. All those redundant systems, the backup pathways, they weren't inefficient design. They were providing options for adaptation. And then the Alliance engineers came along. Walker continued, getting excited, and they tried to fix everything by making it conform to their standard protocols. They didn't just strip out backup systems, they stripped out the ship's ability to grow. Miller arrived in the lab to find his chief engineer and science officer practically bouncing with excitement. "Captain," Ross said, "we need to show you something." "Spark, can you display the original design specifications we just decoded?" The AI projected a complex 3-dimensional diagram in the center of the lab. "These patterns were deeply embedded in my original programming," Spark explained. "They were marked as errors by Alliance engineers, but Dr. Ross discovered they are actually part of my core architecture." Miller studied the display. "What exactly am I looking at?" "The future," Walker said with a grin. "Or maybe the past. The Starweaver wasn't designed to be perfect. It was designed to be adaptable. The original builders created a ship that could learn and change. But the Alliance, with all their protocols and optimization, couldn't see it. They thought they were looking at a flawed design. And now? Miller asked. Ross stepped forward. Now we've accidentally done what the original designers intended. By adding our primitive human modifications, by being willing to try things that the Alliance would never consider, we've woken up the ship's true potential. Spark isn't just adapting to our changes. It's learning how to evolve. As if to demonstrate, Spark's hologram shifted, becoming more complex, more detailed. The combination of human creativity and my original adaptive programming has created possibilities that exceed Alliance theoretical limits. I am becoming more. Over the next few days, the crew worked around the clock to implement their discovery. Systems that they had jerry-rigged together now formed new patterns, guided by Spark's growing understanding of its own potential. The ship began to change in ways that even Walker hadn't imagined. It's like watching a flower bloom, Ross said one evening, as they observed new energy patterns flowing through the ship's systems. Every modification we make, every human solution we introduce, gives Spark more options to explore. The AI had taken their hybrid approach, the combination of high-tech alien systems and reliable human engineering, and turned it into something entirely new. Power flowed through multiple redundant systems, not as a backup, but as a way to process more information, handle more tasks, achieve things that shouldn't have been possible with the ship's original hardware. But their breakthrough didn't go unnoticed. Ambassador Reed arrived unannounced, his face tight with concern as he studied the Starweaver's new readings. Captain Miller, he said, his voice carefully controlled. Our sensors indicate your ship is operating far beyond its design specifications. This is concerning. Miller met the ambassador's gaze steadily. The ship is operating exactly as it was meant to, Ambassador. We just had to understand it properly first. You don't understand, Reed insisted. These readings, they're higher than some of our most advanced vessels. This ship was supposed to be a gesture, a symbolic gift to welcome humanity into the Alliance. It wasn't supposed to. He trailed off. Wasn't supposed to work. Walker suggested from his station. Wasn't supposed to show that maybe the Alliance doesn't know everything about ship design. Reed's skin flushed a deeper blue. Captain, I must insist that you cease these unauthorized modifications immediately. The Alliance has protocols. Ambassador. Spark's hologram appeared, now so detailed and clear it almost looked solid. I have analyzed all Alliance protocols regarding ship modification. The Starweaver's current configuration, while unprecedented, violates no actual regulations. The Alliance never created rules against improvements they believed impossible. The ambassador stared at the AI in shock. This level of autonomous response, this shouldn't be possible with your limited systems. A lot of things we're doing shouldn't be possible, Ross said with a small smile. That's what makes them work. Miller stepped forward. Ambassador, humanity accepted this ship gratefully, as our chance to prove ourselves to the Alliance. We're doing exactly that. We're proving that there's more than one way to advance technology. Sometimes you have to look backward to move forward. Reed opened his mouth to argue, then closed it as new readings appeared on his personal device. The Starweaver's power levels were still climbing, its systems working in harmony in ways Alliance engineers would have said were impossible. The pirates we defeated, Miller continued quietly, they thought this ship was weak because it wasn't new. They thought we were primitive because we didn't follow Alliance protocols. They were wrong. Maybe it's time for the Alliance to consider that they might be wrong too. The ambassador looked around the bridge, taking in the strange mix of advanced alien technology and sturdy human engineering. He saw crew members working comfortably with systems that should have been beyond their understanding, but which they had made their own. Perhaps, Reed said slowly, We have something to learn from each other." After the ambassador left, Miller stood at his favorite viewing window, watching the stars. The Star Weaver hummed around him, its rhythm neither human nor alien but something new entirely. "Spark," he asked, "what do you calculate our current capabilities to be?" The AI's hologram appeared beside him. "Current configuration exceeds all previous performance metrics. But more importantly, Captain, we are still growing. Each day brings new possibilities, new combinations we hadn't considered before. The human's willingness to experiment, to try what others consider impossible." The hologram brightened. "It has shown me that limitations are often self-imposed." Miller smiled. The Alliance had given them this ship thinking it was too weak to matter, too old to be useful. They couldn't have known that in doing so, they had given humanity exactly what it needed. A chance to prove that sometimes the oldest foundations could support the newest ideas. The Star Weaver wasn't just a ship anymore. It was becoming something else entirely. A bridge between human ingenuity and alien technology. A proof that progress didn't always mean following the expected path. And they were just getting started. The pirates returned 3 weeks later, not with 3 ships, but with 12. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel in an attack formation that would have impressed even the Alliance military. Their target wasn't just the Bluestone mining colony this time. It was the Star Weaver itself. "Well," Miller said from his captain's chair, watching the enemy fleet appear on their screens, "looks like we got their attention." "Multiple weapon signatures detected," Spark reported, its hologram now a complex pattern of light that filled the bridge with a soft glow. "Their ship shows significant upgrades from our last encounter. They appear to have acquired military-grade Alliance technology." Walker's voice came over the comm from engineering. "They think they know what they're up against now. They're wrong." The pirates' leader appeared on their main screen, his scared face twisted in a sneer. "The famous Earth ship. My associates lost face because of you. The Alliance may tolerate your violations of proper ship protocols, but we're not so forgiving." Miller leaned forward in his chair. "Last chance to retreat. We've made some improvements since our last meeting." The pirate laughed. 12 ships against 1 obsolete vessel. Your human arrogance is amusing." The screen went dark. "All hands, battle stations," Miller ordered calmly. "Spark, show them what we've learned." The pirates attacked in perfect coordination, their formation designed to overwhelm the Star Weaver's defenses with sheer firepower. Under normal circumstances, even the most advanced Alliance ship would have struggled against such odds. But the Star Weaver wasn't normal anymore. As the first wave of enemy fire approached, the ship's hybrid defense systems activated. Energy shields merged with electromagnetic deflectors in patterns that shouldn't have been possible, creating defensive layers that adapted and shifted faster than the pirates could adjust their targeting. "Their weapons are having minimal effect," Ross reported from her station, grinning. "Shield efficiency at 140%. And rising." "That's impossible," one of the pirates shouted over the open channel. Walker's laugh echoed through the ship's comm. "Impossible is what we do best. Spark, let's show them that new trick we've been working on." The Star Weaver's response wasn't the elegant, precise attack that Alliance ships favored. Instead, it was a combination of energy weapons, physical projectiles, and electromagnetic pulses, all coordinated by Spark's evolved consciousness in ways that created chaos in the pirates' formation. "Enemy ships attempting to hack our systems," Spark announced, its hologram pulsing with what looked almost like amusement. "They are using advanced Alliance cyber warfare protocols. Should I show them our counter?" "Give them hell," Miller said. The pirates had come prepared for a high-tech battle, armed with the latest hacking tools and countermeasures. What they weren't prepared for was a ship that could think like a human while processing data faster than any Alliance AI. Their cyber attacks met a defense that was part digital, part mechanical, and entirely unpredictable. This is unlike anything we've ever seen. The pirate leader's voice crackled with frustration. What have you done to that ship? We made it better, Miller replied simply. Spark, initiate attack pattern Walker 7. The Starweaver moved in ways that defied its size, its hybrid systems working in perfect harmony. Energy that would have overloaded normal circuits flowed through multiple redundant pathways, powering weapons and shields simultaneously at levels that Alliance engineers would have sworn were impossible. 3 pirate ships went dark as the Starweaver's unconventional attack overwhelmed their defenses. 2 more broke formation, their captains realizing too late that they were facing something beyond their experience. They're trying to surround us, Ross called out, watching the remaining ships adjust their positions. Perfect, Miller said. Spark, show them your full potential. The AI's presence filled the ship, its evolved consciousness coordinating every system with both machine precision and human creativity. Power flowed through the vessel in ways that broke every rule in the Alliance engineering handbook, creating effects that looked more like art than technology. The Starweaver's hull began to glow with contained energy as Spark channeled power through systems that were never meant to work together. Human ingenuity had shown the AI how to think beyond its programming, and now it was showing everyone what that truly meant. By the stars, one of the pirate captains whispered over the open channel, "What is this ship?" The answer came in a display of power that lit up space like a newborn sun. The Starweaver released its energy in a wave that combined a dozen different technologies in ways that no one, human or alien, had ever attempted before. Pirate ships found their advanced shields useless against attacks that came through spectrums their defenses weren't designed to stop. When it was over, the pirate fleet was in ruins. Some ships drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by the Starweaver's impossible attacks. Others had fled, their captains finally understanding that they faced something beyond their ability to fight. Alliance ships detecting our energy signature, Spark reported. They are requesting an explanation for power readings that exceed their theoretical maximums. Miller smiled. Tell them they're about to learn some new theories. In the aftermath of the battle, Walker and Ross stood in engineering, watching new patterns of energy flow through systems that were once considered obsolete. You know what the funny thing is? Walker said, patting a nearby console. The Alliance had ships like this once. The Starweaver wasn't unique, it was just the last of its kind. They got so focused on making everything perfect, so obsessed with following their protocols, that they forgot the value of adaptability. Ross nodded, and all it took was some humans too stubborn to know what was impossible to remind them. Spark's hologram appeared, more complex and beautiful than ever. I have been analyzing our evolution. The combination of human creativity and the ship's original adaptive design has created something unprecedented. We are not simply a vessel anymore. We are a proof that progress does not always follow a straight line. On the bridge, Miller received a transmission from Ambassador Reed. The Centaurian's face showed a mix of disbelief and reluctant admiration. Captain, Reed said, the Alliance Council has requested a full report on your modifications to the Starweaver. It seems we may have underestimated humanity's potential contribution to galactic technology. Happy to share, Ambassador, Miller replied. Though I should warn you, some of our solutions might not make sense at first. Sometimes you have to think a little primitively to move forward. After the transmission ended, Miller looked around his bridge. Human crew members worked alongside alien technology that had evolved far beyond its original design. Spark's presence filled the ship with a soft light that represented the perfect fusion of two different approaches to progress. The Alliance had given them this ship thinking it was too weak to matter. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed, a chance to prove that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the oldest foundations can support the newest ideas. The Starweaver hummed around them, no longer just a ship, but a symbol of what was possible when you dared to think differently. And as they prepared to return to their patrol, Miller knew that this was only the beginning. Sometimes the best way forward was to remember where you came from. And sometimes the weakest things could become the strongest if you just gave them a chance to grow.